Hello world, how are you doing? This nice package from a well-known online retailer has just arrived. Let's have a look what's in it. I'm going to use this dangerous looking rusty scalpel to get into it. And this is what's inside. It's this rather beautiful book called Superstar Guitars by Eleanor Jane, with a foreword by James Dean Bradfield of the Manic Street Preachers. It's a big book, about 35 centimeters by 25 centimeters, and it's in a slipcase. It has a cover price of £50, but it was a fair bit cheaper than that on Amazon. And it's shrink wrapped, so let's scalpel our way into that as well, very carefully. Let's get it out of its slipcase too. So this is basically a coffee table book about famous guitars. Of course, this is not the only book of its type. I've got a few books about famous guitars myself, but I thought this one looked particularly well presented and I liked the look of the photography. So let's have a quick look at the contents page. And we can see the list of the guitars that are included. We can see that we've got guitars from various different periods of rock history. Some fairly historic ones, Howlin' Wolf, Woody Guthrie, Bob Dylan, the guitar in which he famously went electric and got called a Judas. We've got George Harrison and John Lennon of the Beatles, Jimi Hendrix, Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead, Keith Richards, David Gilmour, Rory Gallagher. Then we have some more modern ones as well. So Steve Vai, Kirk Hammett, up to some fairly recent ones, a bit of Britpop, Noel Gallagher, James Dean Bradfield. Right up to the present, the newest entrant, Phoebe Bridgers. So it is pretty much arranged in chronological order from the 1950s onwards. Let's have a look at just a couple of the guitars. Let's start with David Gilmour's Blackstrat, page 80. Okay, David Gilmour's legendary Black Strat, which he bought in New York in 1970 and played on practically every Pink Floyd album from 1970 onwards. Incidentally, sorry about the glare on the pages. The paper is very glossy, although it does appear to be quite good quality. Gilmour's Strat is a bit of a trigger's broom, and apparently nearly all of the parts have been replaced at some point or other. And, as it says right at the beginning here, in 2019 I was sent to the prestigious Christie's auction house in London, and David Gilmour auctioned off quite a lot of his guitar collection for charity. And this guitar sold for $3.9 million US, which at the time was the most expensive guitar ever auctioned. The photography focuses on the little details. The section starts with a general picture of the guitar, then there are pictures of the headstock, the controls and so on, and I like the way she has emphasised the damage on the guitar, like real life relicking. They all add to the character of the guitar, every bump and bash tells a story. And in fact, the next one in the book is one of the most famously beaten up guitars of all time, Rory Gallagher's Stratocaster. Again, there is a focus on the damage to the guitar. These are all guitars that can tell a story. They have all suffered a bit at the hands of their famous owners. Okay, we'll look at two more. Let's pick Prince, page 136. And this is Prince's Yellow Cloud guitar. I'm fairly sure Prince took a bit better care of his instruments, so there's probably not quite so much damage on this one, but it's an interesting guitar. This is probably the guitar that most people think of when they think of Prince, maybe along with his Paisley Telecaster. And as it says at the top, it's an idiosyncratic guitar for an idiosyncratic musician. There's a bit of wear and tear on the frets and so on, but no real beaten up damage like we see on some of the others. The strings look like they haven't been changed since Prince last played it. Okay, we'll look at one more. Let's pick a slightly less traditional style of player. Let's pick page 172, Tom Morello of Rage Against the Machine, who is not someone you usually see in books like this, which I think is a good inclusion, and maybe sets this book apart from other books of its type. Tom Morello is also quite an idiosyncratic guitar player. I think we can say that his style is quite different from traditional guitar playing. His guitar is a bit of a parts caster, made from various different brands of spares, and apparently he painted on the cartoon hippopotamus characters on it himself as well. So, overall this is a very beautiful book. As with every book of this type, people will always have opinions about what should have been included and maybe what should have been excluded, but I guess that people who make books like this are always restricted by what they can get access to at the time. Since the emphasis here is on instruments with a character, there are a few guitars that I think might have been included. If we look back at the contents page, I'd say the most obvious missing one is Eddie Van Halen's Frankenstrat. There are several other players who are closely associated with guitars that could have been included. People like Slash or Jeff Beck or Neil Young or B.B. King or Peter Green. Also, it has to be said that it's a bit of a sausage fest. Out of 35 guitars included, there's only one from a female guitarist, Phoebe Bridgers. Now, of course, the history of rock guitar is overwhelmingly male, but I'd say that Bonnie Raitt's Strat, the one she calls Brownie, could have been included, or something from Nancy Wilson or Joan Jett, or Jennifer Batten or Orianthi. You get the idea. But overall, I like this. It's a beautiful, well-made book that you can spend a long time looking at and reading the stories in it and wondering how those guitars got all those little bumps and bashes, and in a couple of cases wondering what kind of music would have been made on them if their owners had stayed in this world a bit longer. I would love to see a volume 2, and I would love to see an equivalent book for bass players as well. But anyway, that's a quick look at Superstar Guitars by Eleanor Jane. And that's all I've got to say. So, see you around.